Hello, everybody. I see we have a few people already online for our webinar, the 'Tis the Season series, and this program is going to be focusing on healthy indulgences. We're going to be starting in just a couple of minutes to give people a chance to get online, and we will be back in about 2 minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Welcome to 'Tis the Season, being healthy without overdoing it, or being indulgent without overdoing it. I'm Teresa Herzog-Murad, and I'm the manager of Tobacco Consultation Service and the Alcohol Management Program with MHealthy.
And hi, everybody. I'm Denise Williams. I'm Associate Director for Risk Reduction Programs at MHealthy, and a lot of different programs fall under my team, and it's a real pleasure to be here with you today to talk about the concept of being indulgent during the holiday season without overdoing it. First, I'd like to start off by just asking a question of what if the word indulgence might mean to us. I feel like that there's almost a double meaning to this word, and I wonder what you all might think. I think sometimes there's a lot of positive aspects to the concept of indulgence. To me, sometimes it feels like something luxurious, something special, something to be savored, and something that doesn't happen every day, something that I would do when I want to kind of pamper myself or do something special as a reward. Sometimes there could also be, though, those occasions where something that may start out as something that is a healthy indulgence might almost before our eyes evolve into something that goes to an overindulgence, and then it may not feel as pleasant or as special as it did before. And that's a little bit about what we want to explore today, are these two sides of indulgence. How do we really make the healthy, happiness-producing aspects of indulgence be a part of our life without the overindulgence of what happens there? And I'm just going to scroll across a couple of things that may make you think about the difference between these two sides of indulgence. Whereas with the healthy indulgence, you might feel, sigh, I just feel great, I'm in heaven. The overindulgence might be more like an ugh, could be after a big meal, or I ate a little too much, I went a little too far. A healthy indulgence I might plan for. I'll take a day off and say, I'm going to do some things that are special. Where sometimes overindulgence almost feels impulsive, like it's out of our control. Somehow we were swept up in something that maybe turned out a way we didn't predict or desire. A healthy indulgence, similarly to being planned, is more deliberate. I'm careful about it. I want to really take advantage of the moment and be fully part of it. Whereas overindulgence often feels like it was too much. I really wasn't selective. I just kind of just reacted to everything the way it was and didn't really discern what I really wanted. A healthy indulgence can be moderate, where I'm really going to experience something positive and appreciate it for what it was, rather than getting carried away with an overindulgence where then it doesn't even feel like it was fun anymore. Now it's just, I went from having a bite of something that I really enjoyed. Now I feel sick to my stomach. Somewhere along the way, I lost the fun. Healthy indulgence will not have any aspect or tinge of regret to it. It's going to be, I did it, I feel great about it. That's a healthy way to approach indulgences, rather than having some regret afterwards. We don't want to experience those negative sorts of feelings around healthy indulgence. And also be mindful. This is very similar to the concept of planning. I really want to be aware in the moment. If I am going to, for example, to keep on the food example, if I decide that I want to have a certain special treat at the holidays, I can be mindful of that. I can say I'm going to not worry about having it either before or after. I'm going to have a small amount, and I'm going to be really aware of how much I enjoy it. I'm not going to rush through it, and then I'm not going to feel like I was just a robot that automatically put something in my mouth and didn't even remember doing it, didn't feel all that great afterwards. So these are some things to think about. We really want to try to focus ourselves much more on the healthier side of indulgences. How can we really make those things be enjoyable and positive? So as we're talking today, you might want to think about what sorts of indulgences do you often find come into your life during this time of year? What might be some indulgences over the holidays? And I'm just going to scroll a couple of them that are examples that we sort of thought about. For some of you and for some of us here in MHealthy, it might be, again, enjoying some special foods over the holiday that you don't get all the time. Maybe you don't always have the time to prepare them because they're fancy and this is the time you have. For some of us, it's maybe if we're busy during the rest of the work year, it's sleeping in. How often do we actually get a chance to rest and relax? The holidays might be the only time we do that during our season days. Having time with people you care about, or maybe even time to yourself that you will enjoy and spend in your own special way. Giving to others in many different ways. Often that's a very big hallmark of the season. And for some of us, I know, Teresa, you certainly encounter this in some of your work. For many of us, it's a time of year where alcohol plays a role.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's a time where people want to think about and be deliberate about their alcohol use if they're going to choose to use alcohol. And sometimes we also have to think about, well, if I'm around alcohol and alcohol is part of the festivities, how might I handle that as a host? Or how might I handle that when Uncle Joe comes over and, yeah, he does drink too much sometimes? And how might I really enjoy that sparkling champagne at the New Year? So there's going to be this need for all of us to think about how do we want it. Indulgence really brings us in that direction when you think about it as a healthy opportunity. I might have one drink. I'm not going to have 4. I'm going to have 1.
Yeah, and it's really about how to put it in context and being mindful and planning for those occasions. So we'll be talking about that as a little thread throughout our discussion today. And we're going to segue first, though, to talk a little bit about the indulgence in holiday treats. And very often we find that people do gain a little bit of weight over the holiday season. And it might not be as much as everybody thinks. The research shows it's really only the average of about a pound or so. But for many of us, it can be more than that. I know when I was growing up and struggled with my weight, it was significantly more than that because I really found that I was not in control of my eating and found that I really didn't enjoy it anywhere near the extent that I do nowadays, even though I ate a lot more. So what I personally had to do is really look at and adjust my expectations about what food I was going to have around me over the holidays and really how I was going to deal with it. And it became very important for me to understand that everything I do, for example, in this case, everything I put in my mouth, really is my choice. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way over the holidays. I don't know, Teresa, how you feel.
Yeah.
You know, but it really is ultimately our choice of what we decide to ingest. So I feel that we can really have anything we want over the holidays. There is no bad food. There is no forbidden food, as long as we're mindful about what we're selecting and how much, and really put it into a context of how I want to conduct my holiday season. Again, you won't gain weight necessarily from having a little extra treat. If you want to think about a number, it takes 3,500 extra calories to gain a pound. And so you would have to eat a lot of treats to gain a lot of weight. So we want to look at it in that context. If I have a small amount of something and I don't go overboard on everything, I'm not going to necessarily gain very much weight, or it will be very manageable for me. So instead of saying the holidays are a time where I'm just going to eat a lot of everything, whether it's bread or potato chips or a special treat, say, you know, I'm going to pick and choose what's really special. If there's a plate of Oreos on the table, I don't have to take those. Those aren't special. Seek small pleasures and don't feel deprived. Don't deprive yourself of a special treat. If it's only once a year you have it, because you're going to maybe regret that decision, but just have it in context and think about the results of those choices in advance. So it's all about planning a little bit ahead, managing expectations about what you eat. So thank you. All right, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how common it is that when adults gather or when families gather, alcohol can be part of the celebration. And often people will view alcohol like their treat. One of the things we've learned in the alcohol management program, a really nice phrase that we've learned from our clients, employee clients, is they've told us that they want to use alcohol if they have that choice, because some people can't choose to use alcohol. But for those that have the choice, most people don't want to exceed moderation. And so they're thinking about alcohol as a treat rather than a treatment of any kind. And that kind of helps people with some perspective about alcohol. It is like dessert. Some people will say, I'm going to have the champagne and maybe just a little tiny dessert because these are my empty calories and I like it. Planning ahead is really helpful with alcohol because we have to think about it. It's a little different than food, even though we can kind of get carried away sometimes with something sweet and creamy and yummy. Alcohol isn't the same in that it does impair. Every sip brings us a little less inhibition, less self-control. So we have to be mindful and go into alcohol consumption opportunities with real clarity about how much am I going to drink. Am I going to have alcohol tonight? Am I driving? Is this going to work for me, of course, based on medications or anything else I'm managing? Let's say I have a green light to have a drink and I have a designated driver. I want to plan ahead and make sure I limit my consumption. And fortunately, when we go in with a limit in mind, we're much more likely to stick to it. And that just requires us to pause, be mindful of our plans, and think about where am I? How am I going to be invited to drink, and how will it be set up, and what am I going to do? Fortunately, too, the guidelines are written by our Centers for Disease Control, and they tell us, women, have one drink. That's a way to stay in a much safer, lower risk range. Men have a maximum of 2. Take it slow. Have a non-alcoholic first, then have the alcoholic beverage, then have another non-alcoholic. That'll take you a while. So there are lots of things you can do, but the bottom line is, for those that are going to use, they want to indulge a bit, but most people like moderation over indulging or overdoing it. And managing alcohol, whether you drink or not, is something that really is a very real part of social life, because sometimes there are going to be folks who are going to maybe not hear you well, and maybe you've already had your limit, and they invite you again and again to have, you know, another drink. And you have to be prepared. You have to be able to say, no, thank you. A great way to avoid being asked is to have that non-alcoholic in your hand. Have something ready that you know is right for you, and people won't as likely continue to offer you alcohol. So that's important. And one thing we always have to do, too, is because people are just trying to enjoy one another, they're going to continue to invite us to drink. And some of us who aren't drinking have to be real clear about what do we say. We say, no, thank you. Most of the time that works just fine. Sometimes, though, especially if those asking have had quite a bit to drink, or some, they don't listen as well and they might forget. So you have to have different ways and different plans, either non-alcoholic or some phrasing at the tip of your tongue that you can use when you're asked and re-asked to drink.
And we're just showing a couple of examples
Yeah.
here about some things that you may be able to say. And sometimes it's nice to have a little set of
things in mind.
Say, you know.
Planning ahead, because sometimes people put a lot of pressure. I know in my family there's one individual, lots of pressure. So asking and asking and asking. And have mocktails. Have things that are yummy to you, low calorie if that's what you prefer, that taste delicious and that you can enjoy. And that's where we get into, again, enjoying something special. You can have a delicious mocktail, but you won't want to have a lot of something if it's very high in calorie, right? So make sure at your parties you have lots of alternatives to alcohol, nicely featured.
And one thing, just for everyone's information, once the webinar is over, we will be sending out some information about some mocktails that you could incorporate into your seasonal festivities. So we'll look forward to getting that out to you after the conclusion of the webinar.
So moving on, we're talking about healthy ways to indulge, and another luxury. I'm sorry, I got out of step here. Healthy
No,
ways
you're fine.
Okay,
no,
healthy ways to indulge and enjoy special times. Okay. Sometimes it is really hard around the holidays because they're so hectic to really find space for yourself. So you want to plan ahead on that one as well. And that kind of planning means time for yourself, time for some peace and quiet, time for what you really find restorative rather than what you're supposed to be doing. There's also all this pressure people feel to have a great time. Well, there's nothing wrong with some peace and quiet and some downtime. The more we have, the more we tend to be able to relax and enjoy the bustle and fun of socializing. Mm-hmm. So make sure you make time and set aside in advance time for you and the people that you most appreciate and want to be with this holiday season.
Absolutely, and I think it's really great to spend a little time before things get hectic to think about how you might make time for yourself and people that are important to you during this time. And it's back to that concept that we've been talking about through the entire series of being mindful and of planning. A couple of other healthy ways to indulge and enjoy yourself. We know how challenging it is to find that time. And again, planning and being mindful. And if indeed this is a time of year where you maybe tend to be a little more isolated, consider ways that you can bring other people into your holidays by being actively involved with others, if this makes sense to you. You can make a snowman or have other winter fun activities, as we've talked about in some of our prior seminars. Sometimes it's just phoning a friend and catching up with nothing else but just, thinking of you and kind of restore each other. And also many people find this time of year, because they have the time also, that they volunteer for a specific cause that is meaningful for them. Or they get on the internet and make a donation to a cause that is meaningful. So there's ways to make your influence and your giving known beyond just yourself. So these are things to really look at that also can fall in that concept of indulgence. Another indulgence that we wanted to touch on just briefly is the luxury of sleep. I don't know, Teresa, how you feel. I know I never feel like I get enough sleep. And sometimes sleep feels like an indulgence that we shouldn't really take advantage of, like we should be busy and active and be productive.
Yeah,
and
get up and get going.
Yeah, and sometimes sleep really is something that takes a back seat, and we really need to understand that it is critically important for our bodies and our minds and our spirits to preserve and protect time to sleep and rest, because the time we're sleeping basically is the time that our body renews itself. It's very similar to when we put our cell phone or our computer into the plug at night and recharge. That's when the batteries recharge. Our brains do things, our bodies do things to repair ourselves at night that they don't have the ability to do during the day, because we're basically so busy staying alive. Sleep is our time to restore, so if we shortchange it, our body will know, and we will suffer poorer health potentially as a result. So often, we're not sleeping enough. I think some of the statistics are showing that average Americans sleep about 6 hours a night. We should be sleeping around 8. So we have a chronic sleep deficit, which will keep us from operating our peak, feeling good, feeling energetic, feeling productive, feeling calm. These are the things that often are go by the wayside when we don't have enough sleep. So it's very important to think about how much sleep you need in order to feel your best. During the holiday, turn off the alarms and just see how long you sleep. That might give you an idea of what your needs really are. And we also know, unfortunately, that alcohol, food, and exercise, or fortunately in the case of exercise, can affect the quality and quantity of sleep we get. If we have too much alcohol, although we may feel sleepy in the short run, it can maybe interfere with our sleep later.
Yeah, it always does. It will affect, and people tend to wake up later on. They'll be asleep for a while, but then they'll wake up, and then the sleep that we do get, if we don't wake up, is less restful. It's less nourishing. So
absolutely. Food, if we get less sleep, we tend to be more overweight. We're not sure exactly what mechanisms happen, but somehow depriving ourselves of sleep interferes with important chemicals in the brain that regulate appetite and may even regulate how we digest our food. Exercise can be very helpful and can really energize us and can actually improve our sleep quality. For some of us, though, don't do it too soon before you go to sleep. So pick your time to indulge in the luxury of exercise to help your sleep. And I talked about the weight-sleep connection.
So all of this information, it's all relevant for a healthy and restful holiday season, one that we can enjoy. And this exercise that I'm going to just do briefly with you is something you're going to be able to use that will help you any time of year, but it may be just what you need at that holiday party or before the holiday party or wherever you are to check in with yourself, to be mindful so that you enjoy an indulgence, but you don't overindulge. So if you would just please sit comfortably in your seat, put both feet on the ground. The place we start with the mindfulness exercise, and this is just going to take a minute, so come along with me on this little brief break. We're going to start with your breath. Again, close your eyes and make sure you're sitting comfortably. Close your eyes and let your body relax. Notice it relaxing. Move your attention to your breath. Focus on the rise and the fall of your chest. Your belly rises, your belly falls. It's like a wave falling upon the sand. Breath rises and falls. Focus on your breath. If your mind wanders, that's okay. Just go back to your breath. Just notice the distraction and simply bring your attention back to your breath. Deliberately observe your breath, in and out. This is mindfulness. It's paying attention. It's a great way to find a way back to yourself, a way to identify, well, what do I want to do, what do I really want to do, rather than what habit might dictate. What do I feel like, and how will I feel tomorrow if I have this much to drink or if I eat a lot of that? How will I stay on track with myself and those health behaviors that I value? I do have to check in with myself. We just did a really brief mindfulness exercise. To think about it, being asked to focus on your breath, that's a very meaningful pause. It works for everybody. You don't have to be mellow or calm or do yoga to be mindful of your breath. And again, this is a really effective way to support the behaviors that you want to support So best wishes in the holiday season, and Denise is going to wrap this up.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. That was wonderful. As we often do at the end, we want to do a quick recap for you. We want to help you continue to make this a healthy holiday season by taking care of you and yours. A couple of take-home points. Please try your best during the season to indulge in things that make you happy in moderation as another method to stay healthy. Plan ahead as much as possible to enjoy the holidays in a way that makes sense for you and is positive and healthy. And by doing this, making deliberate choices and fully enjoying the choices you make. Being mindful, again, looking at how can I utilize food, drink, and other indulgences to help build my vitality and happiness during the holiday season. And very importantly, how do I take time during these busy days to rest, recharge, relax, and renew, which is so important for us in the hustle and bustle of the holidays. So we want to wish all of you very, very healthy indulgences in the weeks ahead. Very quick recap before we go to questions. We do still have 2 more seminars coming up in our series. Next week, December 12th, we'll talk about the concept of generosity and how we can be generous this season to ourselves and to others. And December 19th, kind of wrapping it all up and bringing it all together. How do we have a season where we are content and at peace with ourselves and with others? So please join us for our next 2 sessions. We'll be looking forward to you being with us then. All right, thank you so much.
We have a few questions, it looks like.
Yeah, let's take a peek at our questions here. We did get a few, and we're just pulling them up now. Thank you.
So here's the first question. What about the relative that always comes and overindulges in alcohol? How do I handle that as a host? Okay, so there's a few things you can do. One is, of course, feature those mocktails. Make sure there's lots of food around. And you can also contact that relative if there's been problems in the past and just let them know that you're concerned and that you would really request that they possibly limit their consumption at your party. It's a polite thing to do. And when we speak up, sometimes we might be surprised what we might receive for the holidays. They might cooperate.
That's great. Another question that came up is very often I see that I should have, as a woman, 2 drinks a day, or I'm sorry, 1 drink a day, or as a man, I should have 2 drinks a day. What is a drink? How big is a drink?
Great
because
question.
a lot of people have some pretty big glasses, and I don't know that people know what a drink really is.
Yes, so here are some basic guidelines, and you can always look, just Google what is a standard measured drink, just so you know in case things get confusing. 1 glass of wine, 1 serving is 5 ounces. So in a standard bottle of wine, there are 5 5-ounce glasses of wine. A typical can of beer, just like the can that comes out of the vending machines with Coca-Cola in them, a can of beer is 12 ounces. That's a beer, not an ice beer, not a home brew, not a microbrew, because those are a little bit stronger, a third again stronger. An actual serving of liquor or spirits is 1.5 ounces. So think about that shot glass and that measurement on there. That's 1 drink. So
good to know.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less than we thought.
Yeah, it is not that much. You really have to sip and savor and slowly consume alcohol, because quick makes it a lot easier to overdo it.
Kind of a related question, but it kind of goes to the gift-giving season. I have friends who always give me the gift of a bottle of wine for Christmas.
Oh.
How do I go about telling them I'd rather have something healthier? And that could even apply to food gifts or other types of
Yeah,
gifts
just healthy
too.
gift-giving, huh?
Yeah.
I've had clients, in fact, in the alcohol management program struggle with that because they have loved ones that might even make their own beer or their own wine, and they're gifting something special, but they don't use alcohol or they don't want to use alcohol. So again, it's back to that being mindful and possibly communicating with that loved one how precious those gifts are to you, however you're not drinking. And a lot of people understand that. People don't drink often for health reasons. That can be their emotional health, their physical health, you name it. So I think that communication, that honest communication, is super helpful. And of course, there's always the rule as you think about being a gift giver yourself, consider something healthy and kind of neutral. Maybe a fruit basket might be better than the bottle of wine if you're not so sure about whether people are drinking or not, or if they have health issues that make drinking not such a great idea.
Sure. And I think just a plain thank you goes a long way.
Oh, huge.
You don't even have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that wonderful gift.
You're right. You're right.
Put it aside, and you don't have to use it.
That's right.
I think we have time for one more question. We're just coming down to 12:30. I thought red wine was healthy. Doesn't it contain antioxidants?
Yeah, it does, actually. And there's interesting research on red wine and health. It depends on who's drinking it, how much, and all kinds of other health-related factors that are environmental and behavioral, etc. So when we think about wine being healthy, 1 drink for women, 2 drinks for men, for some people in the population can be helpful and healthy. And for some, 1 glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine is a really lousy idea for them because they tend to have more than 1 or 2 glasses of wine. And they don't get the health-enhancing effects because they overdo it. But yeah, there is some evidence about the heart health, the antioxidants, and the resveratrol is what it's called in the red wine.
And there's also a lot of other food items that contain those nutrients. So if your real goal is to get more antioxidants, resveratrol, etc., fresh fruits and vegetables are a wonderful choice that contain many of those same healthy compounds, even coffees and teas.
Yeah, 100% grape juice, too.
Yeah, fruit juices. Yep. All of those have that as well. So there's lots of different ways to get that. So anyway, the time does fly. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. It was really a privilege to have this time to spend with you. We hope that we provided some assistance to you as you navigate your holiday season, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye, and have a great day.